Welcome back to the r/Civ Battle Royale. Today we get to see a super long part, the part you were all waiting for. It contains drama, wars, peace deals, cities falling, and eliminations. The things that we all love. Your narrator for today is Burgerkrieg, and the installment is written by T.A. Knight. After a, in his opinion, kind of lackster slideshow for part 20, he went and gained much more narrating experience under his belt, with 7 AI games of various sizes narrated and posted to r/Civ AI games. He should be able to provide a better experience. Nonetheless, feel free to submit criticism, as he will welcome all of it. Always helpful to see at the beginning of each part the map of the world, usually made by Mallestrasse but made by Malstrasse after the former went inactive. The city list is made by hardworking Laxarax Araskol, who also tracks city sizes and marks cities above size 30 as metropoli. A lot of cities are going to change owners in this part, so whoever updates the map will have a lot of work to do. The Burrs once again appear back at the top of the power rankings, thanks to their absolute domination of military and tech. If they just warred other nations, they would have had it all. A note from Senshi Denshi. Just before we begin, here's an excellent graph by Jason Bourne 008, detailing all the gory deaths we've witnessed over the past 53 parts. Interesting how little impact nukes have had on the grand scheme of things, eh? Anyway, this graph is sure to increase in magnitude over the coming slides, if you catch my drift. We start off with a shot of the Australia/Kimberley versus Sri Lanka battleground. As evidenced by the minimap in the stat slides of the last part, Australia has flipped Gal and Kalam Nai. However, Sri Lanka has regained their capital from Kimberley hands, despite starting the war. The Kimberley will have to try much harder to gain a city out of this, as I don't see any Kimberley melee ships in the area. Also notable in this image is that the Australians are making good use of carriers. Every one is holding 2 planes, with 6 backup planes in a nearby city. Australia is sure trying to employ good battle tactics here, to make up for the long distance they have to move their ships to get to Sri Lanka. South America. Once a very boring continent until Argentina scored the first city flip in a few hundred turns, taking Machu from the Inca. From then on, all hell broke loose, with Argentina and the Inca ending up being eliminated. Now only the Buccaneers, Brazil and Chile remain. Since the disastrous Brazil-Buccaneer War, Pedro has invested heavily in a unit carpet. The Buccaneers, however, only own a few units on South America, mostly batched up near the Brazilian border. In case of an invasion though, I'm not sure how well they will be able to defend. Brazil has a warmer relationship with Chile, apparently, since they seem to share open borders. Korea continues on their tech advantage, unlocking drone UAVs, trying to get the more powerful units first. Also noticeable is Korea owning nuclear submarines, which, strangely enough, are rarely found in any other nation, even if they're already supposed to have the blueprints. Their carpet is diverse and made of multiple powerful units, but I fear it won't be enough, considering their low production potential. Also, an all too predictable happening announcement at the top. The Inuit take out the Sioux, eliminating them in the 34th place, having declared war on them last part. Sitting Bull never had much of a chance, but he did develop an impressive city for a civilization in the Renaissance era. Too bad the White Walkers had to ruin it, as usual. On another note, this means that the Blackfoot are becoming slightly more encased by the Inuit, city by city. Once thought to be the barrier for the rest of the world from the Blue Frost, they proved ineffective. Now, what is the purpose of the Blackfoot? Well, it's sniping cities in the middle of nowhere, apparently. Welcome aboard, Europe! Iceland, after so much time, engages in a war of actual scale. Although caused by nations declaring war on them rather than the other way around, Iceland is fielding multiple advanced destroyers, which are wrecking France's cities and flipping Orleans, while Paris and Hastings are bombed by planes. While Orleans and any other city Iceland takes is likely to flip, this will still severely hurt France, who owns only 8 cities in the first place, 4 of which are very vulnerable. To the west, Iceland is making mincemeat out of the French ships. Soon there will be nothing to defend France's core. Also, the last Carthaginian survivors are found in the land of cheese. 2 Punic scouts, one next to Hastings and the other next to York. I wonder where they will move after Iceland removes Napoleon from existence. Meanwhile, in East Asia, Yakutia is plotting against Mongolia, a war which all of us were anticipating ever since the single-digit parts, but never happened. Despite all the events around the world, Yakutia still looks like they could take on Mongolia, despite Genghis Khan's carpet, thanks to their tech advantage. If the war happens before both nations hit the tech limit, that is. Also notable is Sibir fielding mech infantry, as they slowly but surely modernize their own carpet. Maybe they plan to take on Finland. Australia makes landfall. Venuvia falls to an Australian destroyer along with Colombo. Sri Lanka appears to have run out of naval defenses, so the war will be taking right into the mainland. Jandamara has yet to give up on Sri Lankan booty, and has sent a new squad northward, though it's currently blocked off by Australian ships. I'm surprised Australia even gave Kimberley open borders, though this may have served more as a taunt than a genuine gesture of friendship. Afghanistan is still holding on to life, only surviving thanks to Vietnam's AI trying to attack the closer, highly fortified cities instead of heading into Kandahar. Afghanistan is getting cocky though, fielding Marids instead of the stronger infantry, and it seems to be working so far. Also, it appears that Finnish troops are fleeing Afghan territory. Maybe they don't want to be caught in the crossfire. Sri Lanka takes back Vavuniya. Unfortunately, their home islands are all but overrun by the Australian onslaught. More and more Australian reinforcements are coming, and Henry Parkes isn't showing any mercy. The only good news coming for Sri Lanka at the moment is that their northern cities are secured by Finland, so they cannot be entirely eliminated. The eastern coast burns, Vavuniya falls, Polonnaruwa drops to 0 health, the relocated capital Anuradhapura is under bombardment, and Lahore looks to fall to an ironclad. The Kimberley wedge their squad through the Australian waves, hoping to get any of the ridiculously named cities. At the sidebar, Agent M uncovers that Chile is plotting against the last Ashanti pikeman. Rumor has it that the pikeman knows the location of the Golden Stool. However, this mission, should he accept it, will require delving deep into Boer territory. The French Navy is shredded out of existence as Iceland puts pressure on Hastings. Orleans flips once again, and additional advanced destroyers harass the fortified city of York, which appears to be the best city France has to offer. One wonders why the best French city is actually foreign. Also visible are some open borders treaties, with Finnish troops in Iceland and Vietnamese troops in Buccaneer territory. The last one is especially interesting, as the two powers are as far from each other as possible, and Vietnamese units can appear in Africa, Europe and Central America simultaneously. This gives them a greater ability for force projection than even the Finnish. The Sioux are down to the last remaining unit, a musketman. Looks like the Inuit are going for a complete genocide. Perhaps it's for the good, as by the words of Frutas Vadum, whatever the fuck that means, even a single zombie spore can destroy a species. Or Tronald Dump. South America isn't going to descend into silence. The Inuits and the Buccaneers form a coalition against Chile, after they had taken out the majority of Hawaii. The Buccaneer-Chile front will surely be dubbed as the War of White and Gold, due to their near-identical color schemes. Good grief. On another note, Chile is showing a severe lack of land units in this image. It isn't likely to harm them very much though, as this war will be almost exclusively naval, so it may be best to spend their production on some more ships. The first casualty of the war is Tiwanaku, taken by a blitzing tank, although Chile has the navy to take it back. The Buccaneers will need to move in their navy if they want to progress past Tiwanaku, as the countryside is treacherous and will prevent any conquest by land. Or just nuke them. Nuking them works too, I suppose. The formerly peaceful state of Hawaii, now a center of city flips and wars, as Brazilian units make their way into Honolulu, though they are oddly boxed in by Vietnamese and Australian units. A few Inuit ships start to make their way into the occupied Chilean cities, though none of these are melee yet. France is simply collapsing. Hastings falls, Orleans flips, Troy is now without naval defenses, and York falls further, although a trolling Buccaneer advanced destroyer is blocking it at the moment. The Punic Scout at Hastings appears to have been catapulted into lands unknown, probably visiting the great elephant in the sky, or perhaps wondering what crimes they must have committed to end up in the frozen Inuit lands of the north. As the wars rage on, we are treated to a shot of the south of North America. Mexico appears to be on the brink of the information era, sporting many rocket artilleries along with some tanks and submarines, while the nearby Inuit country is pretty much empty, though the few units that can be seen are fairly advanced. Vietnamese troops are starting to be catapulted into buccaneer Africa, forming a carpet of their own in the area. Like the Boers in Finland before them, if they can make use of this, they can make very great gains off the middle and middle-lower nations. While Vanvunia is on pancake duty, the Kimberley squad seems to have failed at taking a city, with only 2 units remaining. That's a shame, as everyone hoped Jandamarra could recover from the war with Australia, kind of like Romania from the European domination game. Sri Lanka appears to have sent off all their remaining units into the western coast, to stop the Australian waves as long as possible. However, Australia seems to have pulled off a Xanatos gambit, sending their navy into the now unprotected eastern coast. I see no way Sri Lanka recovers from this. Tiwanaku goes back to Chile as they mount a counter-offensive on the former Incan coast, damaging Vitkos. Considering Vitkos holds 10 planes and bombs, this looks like a valuable target to disarm, even if by making them move out of range. Orleans mostly seems to have flashbacks from the time France fought England. The Buccaneers, however, are insisting on wreaking as much havoc as possible, as they still block the way to York. If you like it so much, you should have DOW'd it. Suspiciously waiting at the Chilean shore are a few Burr units, one of them an arsenal ship, fully loaded with hypervelocity missiles. What mischief are you planning, Mr. Kruger? Also, a Chilean advanced destroyer can be spotted, but by the looks of it, it was grabbed by the Buccaneers. As TPang shows, the hypervelocity missile is a guided missile upgrade, though not much more useful, with 120 strength. It is rather cheap though. This unit was actually unlocked a while ago, back at Drone Fighters, but the AI doesn't tend to build missiles, since they, for lack of a better word, suck. Much like the French fleet. The last remaining scout flees to the sea as York is no longer protected and seems about to fall. Unfortunately, he forgets that he can't actually escape into the open sea, as Iceland owns all the tiles around France. Well, I guess the scout will have to be teleported somewhere else. The first Icelandic units start to land on French soil, ready to do some damage. Unfortunately, these are a cavalry and an anti-tank gun, but hey, it's a start. Also noticeable is an Icelandic nuclear submarine, an unusually rare sight on the BR. Those who spied the sidebar and minimap will notice that Vietnam has ended the war in Afghanistan, but not without a cost. Lahore and Samarkand are seen here now donning green flags, and the minimap shows more cities. Oh boy, Isfahan and Mazar-e Sharif are also given, basically having Susa, a former Persian city, locked away from the rest of the empire. On the minimap, it can be seen that Afghanistan still controls the Antarctic holdings. All in all, in the war, Afghanistan lost 5 cities, gave away 4, and now holds only 6. Truly brutal. They won't be able to catch a break though, as the Kimberley and Mongolia make a joint declaration of war, hoping to gain from the weakened state. Jandamarra may actually be able to attack Susa through Sri Lankan or Australian territory if they commit to it. The USSR backs out of the war against Iceland, deciding that maybe, just maybe, the war may have not been a good idea. It was just a prank, bro. Gone genocidal. Meanwhile, on political news, Sweden got embargoed. More on that because holy shit, Sweden got modernized too. All the little horsies vanished and became anti-tank guns, and advanced destroyers started to pop up in Swedish territory. If they upgrade their destroyers as fast as their Hakkapelitas, their army will be truly terrifying. Back to political news, Mexico attempts to pass their religion as the globally recognized religion, but unfortunately fails. Maybe Benito Juarez wasn't Smexico enough. Hue. Why am I doing this? Why? Afghanistan starts to become a hotspot as Canada and Morocco join among the combatives, if only anyone closer declared war. As the Buccaneer Navy shortage continues, Chile brings Witkos down to yellow. However, the Buccaneers are sending infantry down to Tiwanaku, hoping to flip it again and distract Chile of Witkos. Cusco is off limits for now, thanks to a Canadian scout following in the footsteps of the famous Polish scout, known for saving a Roman city from the Spartans. All remaining scouts strive to, one day, be as important as he was to the grand events of the world. Australia makes peace with Sri Lanka, gaining many cities in the process. Polonnaruwa and Trincomalee are now Australian, netting Henry Parkes a major foothold on the Indian peninsula. Lahore to the north is also given away, leaving Sri Lanka with a three-cities core, along with their exclave in the Middle East. In the war so far, Sri Lanka lost one city to the Kimberley, 5 more to Australia. Considering they are still at war with Jandamarra, they may actually drop further, but for now they may have a relatively peaceful time. First time in this part, a shot of the Frozen War. Mongolian, Korean, Australian and Finnish peacekeeping forces are all trying to slow down an already completely stagnating war, allowing the Yakutians to advance on the Siberians, putting units capable of city capture in place. Next in line to join the war against Afghanistan is Persia. Persia, who has done jack shit the entire game, aside from border skirmishes against a couple civs, turn on the weakened graveyard of empires, looking at a very tasty Susa. The city immediately falls into the red thanks to aerial bombardment, so all that Persia needs is to thin out the residing units, then lead a melee strike into the city. York falls. Iceland is completely rolling the French, landing multiple units such as mech infantry and paratroopers to secure Orleans and move into Paris. The Icelandic navy almost completed their task, and now they only need to fell the city of Troy to control the entire coast. Appropriately enough, the great general next to York is Pierre Augereau. The man was a French general at the time of Napoleon and, according to Wikipedia, was actually supposed to invade England, although the attack was called off. Seeing the general standing next to a formerly English city, falling to an army from England, though not quite English, is oddly eerie. The Boers are, as always, a completely different world of gameplay. They act like a player playing Scientific Victory on a low difficulty, leaving everyone else in the dust and not warring at all. This time, they have built the Virtual Idol Wonder, the cultural wonder of future worlds. Not exactly useful, but still nice to have. Just off the shore, we see the latest Boer invention, the hover tank. As we can see, it's cool as fuck. The virtual idol is more of a tall empire cultural wonder rather than an AI one, so it's not much of an effect. Nonetheless, it's powerful, though not as much as any of the other big 3 wonders of future worlds: the Skynet, the AngelNet, and the Pholus mutagen. The hover tank is an upgrade of the Vertol, itself an upgrade of the helicopter gunship. It boasts 100 strength to the Vertol's 80 and the gunship's 60, and swaps the aluminium cost for nanomaterials, making it spammable. Of other less visible breakthroughs for the Boers, they have unlocked cybersubs, being a requirement for the hover tank, and can now start building Skynet. As if the Boers needed to be more powerful. This means that the Boers have unlocked all non-bioline units, and now they have all the wonders laying before them. Let's hope someone else can snag at least one from them, because otherwise the Boers would be especially powerful for the rest of the game, even if all civilizations hit the tech cap. France is still trying to secure their borders. Both York and Orleans are currently French, but Iceland will take them again. Meanwhile at Hastings, the last French resistance is led by another general from the time of Napoleon, namely François-Joseph Lefebvre. He is less known than Augereau, but he still fought in many wars, the most relevant of which was against the Germans, where he took Danzig. Now he has to retake a city from another nation again, though this time his chances are low to be optimistic. Apparently Sibir. Kuchum Khan is now free to carpet all the area left, though the end of the peace deal might hint a change in the relationship between himself and Urho Kekkonen, which may lead to interesting things happening in the future. Oh my goodness, what is it this time? Can't Yakutia get time to recover? Can't the Frozen War thaw a little? Where did these units come from anyway? Sri Lanka reaches the information era, though the news might have been a little more exciting if they weren't just reduced into a rum state. Still, maybe they can use the upcoming units to try and attack, say, Afghanistan. Iceland, in one almighty swipe, takes down the entire French coast. Orleans, York, Troyes all fall in a single turn. The Punic scout is kicked further inland. Next in the crosshairs would be Paris itself. The Persian attack against Afghanistan may have backfired a bit, as Afghan units attack Gordium, bringing it to the yellow. It's not at risk of flipping yet, but damn Persia, get firing. This is Darius's real chance at getting a city. He better not mess it up again. Oh, a list of past findings by our spies. As usual, most of them don't really bear fruit or are actually reports on dead civilizations. But the one that stands out is at turn 553, with Chile plotting against Hawaii. I guess even a broken clock is right twice a day. Jandamarra decides to give up on the Sri Lankan conquests, seeing as they no longer have much of a navy to send there, and the remaining cities are blocked off by the protecting units. At least they gained a single city out of that war, which is nice, probably. However, this means that the Kimberley are now almost completely encased in Australian territory, making them look like a replica of Tibet. At the irradiated battleground to the west, the Inuit have decided to perform military exercises with their Vietnamese allies, using some of the prototypes stolen from the Boers, as drone UAVs and mech artillery make their way by sea to Sanirajak. Hopefully their tests succeed and we will see some drone UAV carpets, a signature move of so many Future Worlds games. Overlooking the French campaign is the Icelandic Air Force. They have jet fighters and bombers, as well as some atomic bombs should the need arise, though it doesn't seem that it will. Also spotted right at the top edge of the screen is an Icelandic drone UAV, showcasing Iceland's rapid tech development. France has no chance. A Mongolian prophet is spotted far from home in a quest to push Oriental orthodoxy out of Asia. Along with that, we are treated to an image of the nearby nations and how well they develop. The high-tech Bur-Uber carpet, the still powerful though slightly dated Ethiopian carpet, the modernized yet severely lacking Arabian army, the completely outdated and unupgraded Persian squads fielding pikemen next to submarines, and the basically non-existent Armenian forces. If Haile Selassie plays at the same level as Henry Morgan, he could be able to take over the entire Middle East by himself, and eventually come close to rivaling Paul Kruger. Paris has fallen. The Icelandic juggernaut is rampaging through the French countryside, and looks to take them out from coast to coast. Napoleon's last remaining army, standing between Troyes and Paris, consists of 5 Great War infantries and 2 artilleries. They may be able to flip cities a few times, but nothing more. Paris and Troyes are flipped back, but not for long. France has shifted their entire production focus on military, pumping out more units, but even now, Napoleon has nothing he can construct to avert complete doom. Chile joins the Afghan party, but they should know better than to commit units to a war half a world away, because they are under attack from 2 superpowers at the same time. Oh well, Chile, do what you do, just make sure this stealth attack of yours doesn't cost you too much. The city of Cincinnati stands right between the 2 enemies of Chile. It's surprising that it hasn't fallen yet, though it's not all that great anyway. After the declaration of war from last part, Canada has started attacking Blackfoot again. It doesn't seem that Crowfoot's carpeting has done him much good. He can't afford losing any more cities at this point, and Itatipco already fell to the red. Sri Lanka and Yakutia declare war on Tibet. Unfortunately, Tibet is surrounded entirely by Vietnam, and does not care about such trivialities. A single Siberian scout wonders what he did to deserve being sent there. Troyes falls again, and now Neapolis is next in line. France will become a city-state any moment now. The Chile Buccaneer War becomes more confusing as multiple neutral units enter the fray. The Chilean conquest of Vitkos has been halted thanks to a cleverly placed Vietnamese submarine and a Buccaneer Navy squad arriving at precisely the correct time. The Buccaneers are also bringing some nukes to the front lines. For intimidation purposes only, of course. Persia screwed up bad, haven't they? Geridium flips back and forth, Susa is down to 0 health, and Darius still can't send any units there thanks to Afghan bombardments and Finnish blockades. Also, the last Timurid Gallias can be seen next to one of Selasi's machine guns, trying but not quite succeeding at impersonating an Ethiopian unit. Paris and Neapel fall for what is likely the last time. The only city remaining on this side of the Alps is, at this point, Lyon. Itatsipko fell. The city looks to flip many times, but it's still a painful hit to the Blackfoot, who have been unable to secure their borders. Meanwhile, the diplomacy game goes on, with the United Nations now discussing if they should embargo Sri Lanka and the Inuit. I suspect both will get embargoed. Also notable is an Irish scout right above Tsutina. He doesn't mind the cold, warming himself with the knowledge that he outlived the English. Are you fucking kidding me? Seriously, Crowfoot, what the hell? You revived Sitting Bull again? Instead of actually attempting to block their borders, the Blackfoot prop up the Sioux to deflect enemy units trying to pass through. God damn it. On the other side, this forces Canada to look for another opponent to attack, as Itatsipko was the only city in reach. Chile has been removed from the premises. I guess the Buccaneers grew irritated with the situation in South America, so they just swept through Cincinnati with a single attack, removing any remotely Chilean person from North America. Brutal. The Inuit take the complete opposite direction from the burst and advance up the top line of the tree rather than the bottom line first, actually allowing them to build a wonder ahead of Paul Kruger, the Human Genome Project. If the Inuit can continue on this path, they may actually be able to beat the burst to the Pholus mutagen, the possibly greatest wonder of them all. The last French city is now under fire and looks to fall next turn, or the turn after. So much for the glory of the French people, who started off strong, but then just stopped doing anything at all. Also visible in this image is Sparta carpeting every available friendly tile with wooden ships. Although Morocco has destroyers, they don't have nearly as many, and Sparta could take some cities off them. And back to the Human Genome Project. It provides an extra unit of specialist yields, meaning 1 additional production from engineers, 1 additional science from scientists, and so forth. Considering it's empire-wide, this is going to give the Inuit quite the edge. Finland seals off Afghanistan with a unit blockade, shielding it from Persia. Vietnam could still crush them if the Trunk Sisters so desired, but that will have to be seen. Looks like Yakutia took a city from Sibir. While Beriozovo is likely to flip back, it's still a tiny victory for Tigender Khan, as a payback for the nuke. Lyon falls and France is now officially a city-state. They will likely stay that way until Iceland moves some planes in and lands some paratroopers, as the Swedish citadel and the Spartan peacekeeper troops are not making this an easy capture. Since the last shot of Sweden, they sure made good use of their money. Half of their destroyers have been upgraded, giving them a formidable navy. They can now easily take on Sparta and perhaps even Finland if they buff their army some more. Their funky tech path still remains though, since they can't build battleships. Looks like the military exercises with the Trunk Sisters were a success, as I see new prototypes on the seas, like the Mutants and the Arsenal ship next to Igloo Lick. Time to take out the rest of North America, Texas style. The Blackfoot wish for some more offshoot cities and now target the city of Mililani as a replacement for Lost Itatsipko. I guess a Y can function on one city as well as they function on 2. The Inuit are still working on felling the sister city of Mililani, Mauka, but they will need a bigger axe. We return to the Boers as they join the war against Afghanistan, along with 3 other nations. I hope they at least try to send a fleet to take Susa, because I want to see the Boers do anything at all. Put these Future Worlds units into use already. Afghanistan pays their final spite to Persia for declaring war on them, flipping Gordium once again, taking it all the way down to 1 population. Better luck next time, Persia. Brazil decides that Tiwanaku is just the right spot to move their army into the sea. This is a karmic moment for the Buccaneers after blocking York earlier this part. Sparta reaches the atomic era, straggling behind almost every other civilization. Still, they have a decent amount of cities, so they aren't too hopeless. Unlike Armenia, who just unlocked Great War Infantry. End their suffering, Sparta. To the north, Ravenna is blockaded by an approaching Icelandic mech infantry. Looks like Iceland found a way through after all. Finland discovers atomic bombs. Curious that they only do so now, as it means that they are very behind in technology compared to other superpowers. If they don't solve this, they risk losing their status as a globally dominant force. Carpeting isn't everything. This is the moment you were all waiting for, ladies and gentlemen. The Draka awakens. The Boers have declared war on Mali. XCOM units are already on their way, and Denkira and Konongo are bombed down to deep red. Denkira is basically already lost, to be honest. Place your bets on how many turns Mali survives. My own is 5 to 7, no more. Morocco enters the atomic era. However, considering the events to their south, they may become atomic in another way. Ahmad al-Mansour survived for a surprisingly long time. He never really had a good start and was surrounded by stronger nations most of the time. It's surprising no one else wanted the Great Lighthouse for themselves yet. I'm not exactly sure the Inuit aren't actually doing the rain dance around the city waiting for the walls to be washed away. Unfortunately, Vietnam blocked the access, so any reinforcements would have to come the long way around. The Blackfoot are working more effectively, taking Mililani to half health. Hawaii has a submarine hidden in the city, which could pose some problems. However, the Blackfoot have reinforcements right around the corner. A Buccaneer tank sneaks past Pedro's forces, taking out the city of Tiwanaku and making a clearing in the forest of Brazilian units. A squad of AA guns are making their way to the city in an effort to secure it from Chilean counterfire and establish a forward base. Cusco can wait. Let's make a push for Valparaiso. Looking at Oceania, one realizes the immense potential for destruction that Vietnam has at its disposal. It is as though the war with Korea only made it stronger. An Inuit corsair looks on, lost in a world of torpedo submarines and fully automated drone ships. Back in Mali, we see the Buccaneers still have their nukes around. They might want to stash them away though, as the Boers might not be too happy about their presence. Vietnam is rising fast, gaining 15 million population this part only, rising from 7th to 6th. Chile drops from 9th to 10th, losing 7 million population due to Buccaneer and Inuit attacks. Iceland only gains 2 million population this part, despite gaining so many cities, but rest assured that it will grow much more soon. Many nations became rump states this part, so many that Persia rose 3 ranks despite losing 1 million population. Sitting Double Jesus Bull rules a nation consisting of 1,000 people only, after being relocated to a new city in the middle of the snow wastelands. Not too many changes here, with most nations having carpetized their entire land already. Only Sweden is noticeable, jumping from 11 to 9 following a 200k rise in military strength thanks to upgrades. Holy shit, Iceland, they rise from 6th to 3rd after taking out France and gaining a lot of territory. The Inuit still have the most actual land tiles to place units on though. Australia is only 1 city away from the 100 cities mark. Canada is also back at the top of the list, having gained 4 cities somehow. And this is basically a list of rump states and near-dead civilizations. The Boers and the Inuit march on, researching 3 and 4 technologies respectively this part. Australia makes a colossal jump out of seemingly nowhere, researching 6 technologies in this part alone, shooting them all the way up from position 11 to the top 5. A look at the comparatively mid-tier civilizations when it comes to tech, though they are mostly behind when looking at the world's superpowers. On the minimap here we can see that Denkira has fallen to the Boers as expected. Konongo surprisingly isn't orange, though it may have flipped back and forth. Anyway, Catholicism is still rising above Judaism, and Islam is still, slowly as hell, falling down to 0. Atheists and primitive religions are losing their final battles against Buddhism and Catholicism. Right now, Buddhist priests and prophets are spreading the religion to New Zealand. And that's the end of the long part 54. I am your narrator Burgerkrieg, reading slides by T.A. Knight. And I wish you all a peace-keeped night. Beware the Draka in the shadows.
X gon' give it to you. Fuck, wait for you to get it on your own. X gon' deliver to you.